the classroom. The second thing I sort of want to focus on with respect to education is that when we're in the classroom itself, we tend to think of being social as kind of the enemy of learning. Okay? But it turns out that being social may be learning's best friend. Okay? So if you learn in order to teach someone else, you actually learn the material better than if you learn in order to take a test. And this is true even if you never get to teach someone else. So we know that when we actually go through the act of teaching someone else, we get to sort of consolidate the information. In the studies that have been done that I think are most interesting here, you read a passage either thinking you'll take a test or that you will teach someone else about. And either way, when you finish the passage, you get the test. And the people who have no idea the test is coming and only read it in order to teach someone else do better on the test because they took the information in differently. And there's some hints from data that Jason Mitchell at Harvard collected and I've collected in my own lab that suggests that when you're taking in information with a social motivation to share it, remember I told you about the information DJ idea? Different brain systems are being invoked to do the learning than the normal memorization analytical network. And we see the sort of social brain network, this mentalizing or mind reading network, coming on when people are trying to learn for a social reason, and it's associated with better learning outcomes. But because of that neural seesaw thing, when we sit in classrooms and we try to memorize, we're actually shutting this system off, this system that may be an exceptional learner, we're quieting it down. It turns out this idea of learning for teaching was implemented in one country at a broad national level. In France, after the French Revolution, there was such a massive teacher shortage that they actually recruited children to teach other children. And it turned out to be wildly successful. But once France got back on its feet, it said, forget about that, let's go back to the normal classroom. So while they had done this kind of by accident or by default, they hadn't appreciated the value of this social process, and then they went back to the age-old idea of a single teacher standing in front of the classroom to talking to 25, 30 kids is the way to teach. Is peer tutoring usually is, oh, well, we'll take two 14-year-olds and we'll have the smart one teach the less smart one. Okay, that I think doesn't work the best way it could. From my view, what you do is the kid who's having the most trouble is the kid that you want to be teaching someone who is at a level where they can actually do something useful. Because it's the teaching process that I think engages a lot of these social motivations that are going to help out in the end. And so it's sort of a changing who's in the teaching role because we're focused on teaching as the learning mechanism.